Welcome to the ZMKC Doctor Room Podcast, brought to you by Zenith Medical and Kidney Center in Abuja. Your trusted source for expert insights and medical advice. I'm your host Afolabi Osho, and in this series, we'll be delving into the world of healthcare with the seasoned professionals at Zenith Medical and Kidney Center. Each episode will bring you closer to the expertise of our renowned doctors, covering a spectrum of medical topics, from the latest advancements in kidney care to general health tips for a better lifestyle.
My name is Dr. Obikili Chinedu. I'm the gynecologist here at Zenith Medical and Kidney Center. So we've been having a sort of ZMKC podcast, which we believe is to help enlighten people about general health issues and things that could potentially affect their health or your health directly. And in my department, part of what we do, generally we see a lot of antenatal care, but when it comes to gynecology, a lot of what we handle is fertility. And it's something that's very important. I think most species, one of the primary things that they function for is for reproduction. You know, plants, animals, bacteria, everything. Reproduction is a very integral part. And so when people have difficulty with being able to reproduce, it can be quite tasking, both mentally, financially, and emotionally. And I always say, at the very least, what people need to have is information. Because the first step in solving any problem is having information about what exactly is happening, what could the problem be, and where to go. Because information, they say, is power. And so that's why we felt, for starters, fertility will be something very important to talk about. Now, it's also to say subjective. There was a time there was this term called being sterile, which has been eradicated, because ultimately the first thing to understand in fertility is that everyone has the capacity to have children. It's just a function of what steps do you need to take to overcome whatever challenge you have. So the term sterile has almost been completely eradicated. So we talk about infertility when someone is not able to have children. Briefly, I'll just talk about how exactly children come about. Usually it's always nice to have some sort of image or animation, which we'll try to see how that can be provided to you. I talk about fertility like a love story. You know, usually what brings children, what brings couples together is love. The man and the woman come together and form a sort of union. And the same thing happens inside the body. The babies come from a combination of the sperm, which comes from the man, and the eggs that come from the woman. And these two gametes are basically trying to find themselves inside the body of the woman. And that's the, so to say, love story. Because the sperm cells goes into the vagina, it swims into what is called the uterus, which most of us call the womb. And then it goes in through fallopian tubes, and then on the side of the fallopian tubes we have the ovaries, which release the eggs. So the journey of having children is the sperm trying to find its way to get to that egg. And what happens is that sometimes there can be several hindrances on that pathway. So what's important to remember are those four things, because those are the important things in fertility: the sperm, the egg, the womb itself, and then the fallopian tubes. And then problems in any of those four things could cause a significant issue. You know, typically some people talk about, in our society we tend to blame the women a lot, but in reality, about 30% of the problem of infertility is caused by male factor, about 30% by female factor, and about 30% by a combination of the two. And in 10% of cases, there's just no identifiable cause. So what happens generally is that the sperm goes into the vagina. If the sperm cells are not enough, what they typically say low sperm count, and of course that can reduce the chance of having one get all the way, because it's a very long journey to go from the vagina all the way to the tubes and then back into the womb. So there are numerous issues which is beyond the scope of this discussion for why the sperm cells can be less than required, but that is one of the potential problems. Now the second problem, sometimes it comes from the ovaries, because sometimes, you know, the eggs are inside the ovaries, and for one medical reason or another, sometimes those eggs cannot just be released from the ovaries, what is called ovulation. And there are a lot of things that can cause that. But if there is no ovulation, then that could result in infertility. Then one of the commoner things in our environment is when the tubes are blocked, because if you have a bit of a diagrammatic representation, you have an idea what we mean by the tubes being blocked. So what happens is basically like a pipe, and the sperm is on one side and the eggs on the other side. And then if the tube is blocked, that means that they simply cannot meet each other. And then for that reason, that to me is like the sad love story, because the sperm is trying to swim across, and the eggs are waiting for it on the other side, but it's blocked, and for that reason, pregnancy cannot take place. Then the last reason is typically from the womb itself. Sometimes previous procedures that has been done, or sometimes infections. Those things can, so to say, scar the womb. And even when the embryo, which is what is the combination of the sperm and egg, comes together, it doesn't find any way to attach itself to start to grow. And for that reason, pregnancy might not be able to take place. Okay, all right, so we can't possibly give you all the information here in this short video, so I'm sure a lot of people would want to have more information. So you have several options. One is that you can come over to Zenith Medical and Kidney Center and have extra discussions with us. You can also visit our website, our community on Facebook, the ZMKC Wellness Group, and you can